Good morning, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about our cabinet solutions, review our different cabinet portfolio, touch on some of the unique features on each one of them, and answer any questions. So let's get right to it. So I'd like to start off with at Panduit, we have three different cabinet product line, what we call portfolio. It's our NetVerse cabinets, and we have two NetAccess cabinets. We have an NType and an S-type. I'll go into details on each one of those in a moment here. Within those, we do also offer various configurations of our cabinets. These three that I just mentioned. One of them is our NetAccess Dynamic. It's really when we take one of our cabinets, reinforce the frame, which lets you ship up to 2,000 pounds of equipment inside the cabinet. It's got the shock pallet, reusable packaging. It's really catered for our system integrator partners. We don't load the equipment, but it's a cabinet that is designed to hold and transport safely up to 2,000 pounds. Another cabinet that we consider is our solution is our pre-configured cabinet. That's when we take one of our cabinets and bundle it with other Panduit products such as PDUs, electronic locks, sensors of that sort, or any connectivity. We'll have all that pre-installed, pre-configured, and more of a turnkey solution under one SKU. So it's a time-saving model that may or may not apply to your requirement. So those are on a high level what our cabinet solutions are. So I'm going to go into details on our three different cabinets. So the first one's our NetVerse. It is our entry-level cabinet. It is we call it a standard compliant product in the sense where we manufacture this in our China facility, but we stock several hundreds of them throughout our warehouse. Specifically for North America, we stock that in our DeKalb, Illinois warehouse. So they're available in stock, ready to go. If it by chance we don't have them in stock, it's more like about a 10-week lead time. So, because of that, we limit the product offering on that. There's limited SKUs, limited sizes, and all that. I'll get into details. But it's a standard compliant cabinet in the sense where we won't alter those cabinets, we won't customize it. So those are just sold as a standard configuration. Then I'm going to focus a little bit more on our NetAccess cabinet, which is our platform product. The NType stands for the network, which is it's designed for switches. It's available only in 800 millimeter wide, but it's going to be available in other various heights. There are some unique features within our NType cabinet. I'll dive into that, but both NetAccess cabinet, some of the focus are on energy savings, energy efficient, where we seal every gap. There's some unique devices that we have to seal all your cable entry port, just to provide a better air seal so you don't contaminate or have any blow through for your cold and hot aisle. That helps you maintain your data center temperature. But within both the NetAccess, so the S-type, that spoke a little bit about the N-type. So the S-type is the S stands for server, the N stands for network. So the server is where the rails are moved all the way forward and is designed for housing your storage server and all your connectivities in the back of your cabinet. Most recently, we've expanded our S-type where we made the front rails adjustable, and that's an S-type universal. So that's also, it can be used for either server or switches. Okay, so that's a high level on the three different cabinet product that we have. I'm going to just go real quickly here on just some of the feature summary within our NetVerse and our two NetAccess. So our NetVerse cabinet, it has full adjustable rails, so it's for switches or for server. Some of the limitation in the site I just mentioned earlier to kind of control the number of SKUs so we can stock these part numbers is going to be your height. Our standard heights on our NetVerse is going to be the 42 and 45 RU. We do offer a 48 RU, but that's what we consider a special order. So that one we can work with key accounts and perhaps stock those. But otherwise, if you were just to call in and you want a 48 RU, we typically would not stock that. As far as the width, the NetVerse is available in two different widths, that's 600 and 800 millimeter wide, small or large. And it's offered in two different depths, 1,000 and 1,200 millimeter. Those sizes are really at the sweet spot of cabinets, and that's why we focus on those where they're very popular. Someone that wants a cabinet. It is loaded with a lot of features, and I'll get into that with you in a few minutes here. So just because it's our entry-level cabinet, it's still a robust cabinet. Its load rating it's 3,000 pounds static, just like our NetAccess. Really, what you're giving up is the rolling load. So it's the quality of the casters that are on there. So 1,100 pounds. The rolling load is when you're in your data center, you want to roll it around load it with equipment. It's rated at 1,100 pounds, so you can safely transport that within your data center. Kind of skipped over the color. So one of the other areas for us to limit the configuration on the NetVerse is going to be the color. Black is what's considered standard. Again, white is offered, but it's considered special order. So unless we work with an account and stock someone in white, we would typically not have that in our warehouse. So that kind of a summary, a high level of our NetVerse. So NetAccess, just again from a specification-wise, the NType is for the switches. It's designed to house, a lot of heavy equipment, a lot of heavy cabling in it. The front rails are set in about 7 inches from the front, and you cannot move those. So all your connectivities are going to be in front of your cabinet. As far as the height on our NetAccess, this is where we expand the sizes and the color. We're going to offer 42, 45, 48, even up to 51 RU is what we consider standard. On the width, the NType is available in 800 wide. The S-type is available in 3 different widths, 600, 700, and 800 millimeter wide. So the S-type is definitely our most versatile cabinet. As far as the depth, the same two popular depth, we call it 1070 or 1200, 42 or 48 inches in depth. Those are typical industry standard sizes for your cabinets. As far as color for NetAccess, black and white is what we consider standard. So you can order those. It has just a little bit more product offering. So again, as far as the load rating, the 3,000 pounds for static, this is where you get a little bit of differentiation between NetAccess and NetVerse. Is going to be your rolling loads. It's rated up to 2,500 pounds. We just use a little bit better quality casters on our NetAccess cabinets that allows you to put more weight in them. Okay, so those are some high-level summaries on our cabinets. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper on each one and just highlight some of the features within it, what they're positioned for, and hopefully one of these will make sense for your application. So the NetVerse cabinet, as I mentioned, is our entry-level cabinet. It is, even though it's entry-level, it has a lot of standard features that you're going to want in your cabinet that comes already included. So it's going to have the fully adjustable front rails and rear rails that allows you to house either server or switches inside of it. We talked about the limited offering, about the size, colors. And the options, there really are, the only option you can get on a NetVerse cabinet is really with or without side panels. There aren't really that many accessories available for a NetVerse. It's either included or it's just not available. So some of the popular features that are going to be included in your NetVerse is going to be, we talked about the adjustable rail. You're going to have 2 full-length PDU/cable management brackets, 1 on each side on the rear. Your typical application would be installing 2 PDUs on one side on that bracket. You use the other side to manage all your data cables. So those brackets are going to be included with every cabinet. Casters, air dam are going to be standard features on the cabinet. As far as how we seal the cable entry ports on the top of your cabinets, we use brush seals on our NetVerse. As you can see on the lower left-hand side, you're going to have openings on the left and right in front and back of your cabinet. So at the end of the day, our NetVerse cabinet is something that you just want something, just a basic cabinet that has all the right features in it, You're not looking for bells or whistles and you need it today or tomorrow, a pretty quick turnaround. We stock these in our decal warehouse, and this is probably a cabinet for you. Okay, so I'm going to focus a little bit more for the remaining part of the presentation on our NetAccess cabinet, because it's really where there's going to be features and options that we have that kind of differentiates it from our NetVerse, and frankly, with other cabinets out in the market. So under our NetAccess portfolio is going to be our NType and S-type cabinet. It's what we considered as an engineered solution cabinet. There's going to be features that we have. I'm going to highlight that in the next subsequent slides. That helps you easy to use. It's going to be designed to have high density, allow you to have more cables coming in, manage more cables. It has definitely more cable management option features with our NetAccess than we do for our NetVerse. And the third item is going to be thermal efficiency. That's where we have unique methods of sealing gaps, whether it's your air dam, we'll seal all the small little irregular openings, up to how we seal our cable ports at the top of the cabinet to help you, separate the hot and cold aisle. Our NetAccess is manufactured worldwide. We have a facility in Monterrey, Mexico, in China, and Romania to service the European market. So for the U.S., all your cabinets that NetAccess is going to be manufactured from our Monterrey facility. So diving a little bit deeper on the NetAccess, the NType. So these are some of the unique features I'm going to highlight. For the NType specifically, it's for switches. It's only available in 800 millimeter wide. There's an extension kit that allows you to take an 800 wide NType, expand it to 1,000 millimeter wide, and that's where you replace all your front doors, rear doors, and it just extends it 100 millimeter on each side of your cabinet if you were wanting to manage a lot more cables. That's definitely a unique option that we have on our NType. Another unique option that the NType has is going to be what we call the inset frame, and I'll show you that, illustrate that in the next subsequent slide. But essentially, our frame, we move those inwards, left to right and front to back, just to free it up, let you allow more cables to come in. I'll show you how that's done. Another unique feature on an NType is we have a dual hinge door. That's where your front door can either hinge from the left side or right side. So people use that dual hinge door feature in conjunction with the inset frame to put two NType cabinets next to each other, and you're able to cable between the two seamlessly. So again, the NType cabinet is designed to manage a lot of your switch and network cabling, and there's unique features in that cabinet to support that. There are also some unique side breathing inlet ducts that we offer for our NType cabinet that only fits our NType cabinet, and that some of those big Cisco side breathing switches, that's another benefit that I got rolled up onto our thermal efficiency solution, but that's definitely another unique feature. So if you have some clients that are using, or if you're using yourself some unique Cisco switches that requires these side breathing ducts, the NType cabinet might be a good solution for you. All right, so I'm going to talk now about our S-type, which again, it was our most versatile cabinet in a sense. We have a lot more sizes available, a lot more cable management options available for our S-type. The S-type initially was started to a cabinet for servers, but we've created that universal cabinet version that allows you to put switches as well. So we have that listed as a network or server application. Talked about the extended sizes, the 3 different widths. The same, 4 different heights of what we consider standard, the 42 up to 51 RU. The extended colors of black and white being standard. We actually offer light gray as well on our NetAccess. And then there's some cable management options that we have. I'll touch that in a subsequent slide as well. That's specifically for the S-type. That because of the way that cabinet is designed, it lets you have some additional cable management brackets to support some of those applications when you need it. Both our NetAccess NType and S-Type, we have some standard offerings where it just has some standard features, but really where we shine is we take these cabinets and work with partners such as yourself. Someone wants some unique features, some unique brackets, some unique configurations, something as simple as, hey, I want the front rail set at 3 inches from the front, and I want my rear rail to be at 24 inches from the front rail. We'll use our NetAccess to engineer that configuration and make that a cost savings for you, so you don't have to do that in the field. When we get something as simple as some requests such as rail spacing or additional brackets that's pre-installed here or there to some cable management options, we'll use our NetAccess cabinet, for that solution. Again, it's going to be focused on some of the thermal efficiencies that I talked about and the high density cabling as well. I'll show you some of that, what I mean by that in the subsequent slides. Okay, so our NetAccess is, we call engineered solutions. So some of the features that we do have in the cabinet, again, is unique, it's different from our NetVerse, and frankly, different than what most of the cabinets out in the markets are. The first item is going to be the side panels. So most side panels, like our NetVerse cabinets, you can have two pieces just to reduce the handling size. You're not dealing with one big bulky panel. On our NetAccess, not only is it two-piece, but we do it vertically split that allows us to hinge it. So the side panels are actually like your doors. So these are for your end of the row. When you want access the side of your cabinet for some cabling, some quick check or whatever, you don't have to physically remove that panel. You can just easily put some quarter turn fasteners and you swing the doors open just as a door. If you want to lift those off, for greater access, you can most certainly do that. There's two quick release pins, but you don't have to remove it and find somewhere safe to lay that side panel if you want to do something quick. So that's a nice feature to have. Most cabinet manufacturers out there, including our NetVerse cabinet, they're loose panels. So when you remove it, you're handling it, you're holding it, you have to find somewhere safe to place it, then you have to put it back. So it's a nice, convenient feature. Another nice engineered solution that we have on both of our NetAccess cabinet is going to be what we call integral bonding. So for all your serviceable components, your front door, your rear door, your side panels, you have to have continuity of those components back to your main cabinet frame, which is earth ground bonded to earth, to keep that UL, for safety reasons, have those grounded. Everyone uses the ground whip, the ground wire, that attaches to either your doors or side panel back to your frame. Our NetVerse does that. Our NetAccess cabinet doesn't use those ground wire because we use what we call integral bonding. Through the hardware mechanism for the doors, through the hinges. For the side panels, there are some contact fingers that meets with some unpainted area back to the frame that gets you that continuity, that grounding of that. So it's another convenient thing. So if you were to remove your side panel or your door, again, so it's one less thing to worry about. You don't have a ground wire to disconnect, and more importantly, when you reinstall those components, you don't have to reconnect it. One less thing to worry about. It's a nice, convenient feature for that on the cabinet, having that integral bonding. I'm going to go kind of counterclockwise here. As far as leveling legs, so that's another nice feature we have on a NetAccess cabinet. You access to adjust them through the top of the bottom of the cabinet as opposed to underneath the cabinet. It's a nice 5mm hex drive that turns that leveling leg that you see on the left side of that image. It's an M14 thread, so it's a very heavy, large thread, very heavy duty stainless steel leveling leg threaded that goes through that nut that's in the cabinet. It's a lot easier to access it from the front than underneath. And once you do set it, you just leave it alone. You don't have to use the double nut. The NetVerse cabinet uses what a lot of cabinets out there, they use that double nut that you have to access it from underneath. So again, this is something that's engineered into our cabinet that makes easier for you to level your cabinet. It's considered one of our engineered solutions. So there's some two unique items that I have also listed here that you may or may not be familiar with. These are two features that we launched early last year. It's going to be our day 2 side panel and our partial side panel. The day 2 side panel is an alternative to using your full side panels, and it's designed for in-between cabinet, not for your end of the row, it's for in-between your cabinet. So what this allows you to do, if you had cabinets all ganged together and you did not have side panels, we have this day 2 side panel that lets you add side panels if you want to add that in a future date without unganging your cabinet, disassembling all your cable and equipment and pulling it out, because that's what you'd have to do if you want to add a side panel to your cabinet that wasn't, end of the row. So this day 2 side panel allows you to slide the front and back half. They interlock and they mount into the front and back cabinet post. This is for S-type only. So you can have this with an S-type next to an N-type or S-type next to an S-type. So if you have two N-type cabinets next to each other, this will not work for you. But this allows you, again, some flexibility to start off with a cabinet with no side panels, save yourself, a few dollars up front, and having the peace of mind that in the future, if I ever wanted to have wanting side panel, whether it's for thermal reasons, you want to isolate that one cabinet, not let it contaminate the adjacent cabinet, or if you want it for security reason, where you don't want, the one cabinet to be able to access the second cabinet. Just a nice feature to have. This is available for S-type cabinet, black or white, and the 4 different heights. This partial side panel is something similar to a day 2 side panel, but it's a partial depth side panel. It's about 15 inches in depth. It's a side panel that you mount to the front that's designed for cabinets that does not have a side panel, but you want to seal the air dam or the vertical blanking panels between the two cabinets that when the rails are at 2 different depths. All of our cabinets and every cabinet out in the market are the air dams. They're going to seal off. They're designed to seal off either on a side panel or against each other if they have no side panels. So, but what happens is when you have two cabinets next to each other with the rails at 2 different depths. So if you had an N-type cabinet next to an S-type cabinet server, the rails are going to be at 2 different depths. You would have to, in order for this the air dams to work, that cabinet, at least one of those cabinets has to have a side panel. But again, if you're not needing a full side panel, we have this alternative. It's a very more economical partial side panel that seals those air dams next to each other and not needing a full side panel. This partial side panel is also considered a day 2 device because you can add it on when the cabinets are fully installed, bolted to the ground, ganged to each other. As long as there's no there's limited equipment inside the cabinet, you mount that to the front post of the cabinet and you're good to go. So as long as you have access to those front posts, you can install this partial side panel. So these are some just examples of illustrating some of the engineered solution on our NetAccess cabinet that just makes things a lot easier to work with. I'm going to focus now on some of the high density, what I mean by high density applications. So this is in conjunction with some of our high density connectivity products that we offer, whether it's our QuickNet, for fiber, or some of our copper, high density copper solution. Some high density features within the cabinet, I'm going to start off on the far left, is what we call a 0RU vertical patching. Vertical patching, every cabinet manufacturer offers some form of adding 19-inch rack space outside of your rails, again, to increase your connectivity within your cabinet. Where we differentiate our cabinet, specifically the S-type, is our 600 wide. So because the 600 wide is 24 inches in width, it doesn't leave you much room to the left or right of your rails. Most people don't offer vertical patching on a 600 wide. You have to use a 700 wide and 800 wide. We do this on our 600 wide by creating openings on our rails, on our equipment rails, that lets you mount our QuickNet modules. There's about 15 of these openings per rail on the rear. So you can add a lot of connectivity into your cabinet. Nice feature to have. Again, it's promoting a high density application where you're going to be able to get away with maybe a 42 RU instead of 45 RU cabinet. Use some flexibility there. Another feature that we have within our NetAccess cabinet, both the NType and S-type, that we had talked about the inset frame. So what I have shown here is the NType. So the NType frame, both the vertical post, that is typical cabinet, they're at the very corner of your of the cabinet. We move those posts inwards and front to back. And what that allows you to do is, that photo that's on the far hand right is two NType cabinets next to each other. Using that dual hinge feature on that, it lets you cable between the two cabinets seamlessly. There's no the cabinet post would not be in your way. You're not having to route your cables behind the post, or you're not having to exit out the cabinet and back into the adjacent cabinet. So it's a nice feature to have, if again, for high density, a lot of connectivity. If this is something that you have an application for, most certainly this is a nice feature to have. Not too many cabinet manufacturers out there that can provide this solution, both a dual hinge and the inset frame. Another feature that we have on our NetAccess cabinet is going to be the front to back beam. That's the one. So not on the NType, we inset the vertical post, but we also inset the front to back. Most cabinet, again, you create your structural portion of your cabinet frame are at the outmost, I guess I'm going to call perimeter of your cabinet. So we inset those back front to back beam, and we do that at S-type as well. So what that allows you to do, all your cables are coming in from the top of your cabinet. It frees up that space, because if I had that post, that front to back beam, at the outmost, that's part of the space that your cables are coming through. Again, it makes a difference on your 600 wide. By insetting those front to back beam, it just frees up the cabinet structural for more space for you to bring in cables. Because otherwise, if those rails were at the outmost of your cabinet, when you do come in with cables, most likely you're going to have to keep your first 1 or possibly 2 RU of your cabinet empty with no equipment, so your cables can come into the cabinet and jog back out towards the side panel. You do not have that issue with our S-type cabinet. All that space is outside of the EIA 19-inch rail spacing, and this allows you to bring in more cables without interrupting your rack unit spacing. So these are two examples of what we consider, high density, some of the engineered features within our NetAccess. So I'm going to get into some cable management. As I mentioned earlier, our S-type cabinet does offer a few more cable management options than some of our other cabinets. So the first one I'm going to start with is the upper left hand is going to be the vertical cable manager. That's a bracket that's designed to slide anywhere along the depth of the cabinet. It runs the full height of the cabinet. That lets you just gets you a tie point for all your cables entering from the top. To dress up your cable, better housekeeping, do some slack storage. A typical application for this bracket is going to be between your front and rear E-rail. And that's where, you want, again, dress up all your cables, keep everything nice and tidy. It's about a 12-inch wide bracket. It's got features to use hook and loop, or you can attach some of our toolless L-rings and D-rings clips to it, and, just tidy up all your cables. Another bracket that we launched recently is going to be our front to back cable manager. That's the upper right hand portion of that. That's where you're going to have an open trough. It's about 2.5 inch in width. It's designed only for our 800 wide cabinet, but for both our N-type and S-type. It gives you a trough that rests all your cables when you're routing it from the front to the rear of the cabinet. It's about 2 RUs in height, so you can mount several of those along the vertical height of your cabinet. The only thing you can't do is you cannot use the front to back cable manager and the vertical cable manager to the left of it on the same side of a cabinet. So you can most certainly use the front to back on the right side and the vertical on the left side. That's where we've got a lot of people doing that. I'm going to go clockwise on this. So some of the other cable management features, we have some toolless cable management fingers that are designed to mount to our rails. Most of the cabinets can take them with both the front and rear E-rails. On our server cabinet, those fingers can only mount to the rear part of the E-rails. And we just mentioned we have some L-rings and D-rings in 2 different sizes. All of these are toolless snap-on features, components that just hooks onto the cabinet rails. Another nice feature that we have for our cable management for our NetAccess is that lower left hand is what we call integral cabinet routing system. This is when you have like a limited height restriction in your data center, where your pathway is not going to be routing 12 inches above all your cabinets. This is where you're going to be routing them at the top of the cabinet height. When you get across your pod of cabinets, all your cables runs on top of all of the cabinets. It's got a 3-inch hump, I call it a hump or a hat, that mounts to the top of the cabinet. It has a nice soft lead-in and that works really well into cable entry of our cabinet openings. It's got a front and rear fascia that hides all your cables when you're looking, from the front and the rear. So it's a nice feature. This device can be ordered pre-installed on a cabinet or as a kit that you add onto a standard cabinet. So if you decide to add that in the future. So these are some examples of our cable management that we offer within the cabinet. I'm going to touch into some of the thermal efficiency. This is where, again, we want to seal every gap. There's some unique features that we have in our cabinet that just provides a better seal within your cabinet. The goal is to not increase the temperature of your data center to save you some money up front. So the first option is going to be a vertical exhaust duct. That's the chimney for high heat applications for cabinets. That is offered our NetAccess. This is for a 30, 40 kilowatt application. So that's something you have, that we have that solution on our NetAccess. Mention of how we seal our cables, that's different on our NetAccess. We, instead of using brush seals, we use what we call a cool boot grommet. It's a split polymer sheath that once you dress up all your cables, you cinch that boot with a hook and loop, and it provides a better seal, so you don't get air leakage out of that cable port. One of the other thermal efficiency I mentioned is we do have some unique air inlet ducts that we offer from both front to back flow and for side breathing ducts. That's part of our thermal solution that works with most of our cabinets. Some of them are designed specifically for our NType cabinet. So as you can see, our NetAccess, there's a lot more options from both for cable management, size, some efficiency, whether it's increased density or for thermal. I think that was my last slide. So hopefully that kind of gave you a good introduction or a good review of our cabinets and some of the unique features that we do offer.